Good evening, everyone. Welcome to June's Authors Chat. We have a special treat tonight. One of our favorite authors has come back to chat with us for a second time. So we're going to take that as the ultimate compliment that she accepted our invite to come chat again, especially since it's a World Cup night. And especially seeing how busy and talented she is as well. She's a USA Today bestselling author, a musician, an advocate for multiple causes, an amazing interviewer and host herself, and a charity anthology organizer and editor. The latter being what we've asked her to come join us tonight to discuss. So, with that, may I introduce the simply wonderful Xio Axelrod.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you so much for having me back.
All right. So tonight we're going to do things a little bit differently. Um, so where we normally have Megan being our moderator, we're going to just have open forum where we open up the mic. But we are still going to ask people to be on mute to aid our recording quality. And we will do those check-ins throughout the evening, and open up the mic. So you can ask your questions directly to Zio. And so, with that, let's get things started. We always like to kick things off with an icebreaker. These are fun warm ups with people while people are joining and getting settled in before we get into the meat and potatoes of the evening. And a little bird told us, Zio, that you're a big heated rivalry fan. So we went with a theme for these this evening. And so, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ozma for the first question.
Okay.
Okay,
One
so
of our other
Zio.
authors is here, by the way. I just popped in, R.L. Merrill.
Oh, yay. So, Zio, did you read the books first? And if so, did it make you enjoy the show more or less?
So I did read the book first. I read Game Changer in like 2019 or so. Whenever it was released, and then lost track of the series. And then I think I read Role Model a couple years later, and then lost track of it again. But it wasn't until a couple years ago, so my friend was like, "Have you read Heated Rivalry?" And I was like, "I don't think so," you know. So yeah, I
Hey,
think it's one of those rare thing cases where the book and the show complement each other, you know. So I don't know that my enjoyment of the show was enhanced by it, but I think that seeing those characters come to life on screen was a really big moment for me as a reader and as an author because it was done with such loving care.
So, who did you love more by the end of the story, Shane or Iliad, and why?
I'm an Ilya girl. That's not, no, don't even have to finish your question. No, I do love Shane. I think Shane is an amazing character, but Ilya's arc is so amazing. It's so incredible. Like the journey that he goes on throughout the entire book series, not just in those two books. He's like we called him like the fairy godfather of the queers. He just sort of like goes around like, giving everybody confidence and courage and friendship, just sort of gathering them together. But yeah, his story is really, really compelling to me. He's one of I call my core heart characters that I have that I've adopted over fiction over the years, like Spike from Buffy, Lestat from the Immortal Chronicles. There's like certain characters that sort of live somewhere in here, and Ilya's one of them.
so Shane and Ilya are actually an epic enemies to lovers story.
Yeah.
If you could place their characters in a non-sports subgenre storyline, which would you pick?
Mm. Well, I mean, I come from a music background, and I do like writing about celebrity a lot. So I think it would either be like rival bands, like rival frontmen or guitarists or something like that, or I don't know, like actors cast in a film when they're vying for who is going to be the lead. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. I think it'd be fun.
So, this is kind of a more interesting kind of think type question, but do you think that film adaptations of romance novels overall are helping to remove the stigma around the romance industry, and moving it forward where people can be more open about reading romance?
That's a really good question. I would say that the properties that I've seen, film and TV, that do advance people's acceptance and understanding of romance are the exception. I think overall, we're still getting this sort of like cookie cutter, dumbed down version of what romance readers want. It's like they see the book, they see how popular it is, they go, okay, we know what this is, and they make some sort of like version of that and then expect the audience that loved the book to just fall in line and, you know, fall in love with it. And 9 times out of 10, they don't. And then they go, oh, well, we tried, So I think that things like Heated Rivalry, even Bridgerton, as much of it as an adaptation as it is, the people that love the core stories are the reason why that show is successful is because the readers are like, we've been waiting to see these characters on screen, and you're true to the spirit of the books. But I think that sometimes Hollywood, not just Hollywood, but just film and TV in general, they take the wrong ideas out of the success of a property, you know. So we want the
Just
yearning.
like,
They're like, oh yeah, it's not yearning, it's
yeah,
the sex they want. So, yeah, the sex is fun, but it's the yearning and the romance and you know, but they're like, yeah, whatever. You know. So
Yeah.
just to pick off of that, like I was going to ask, do you think in specifically in the adaptations that seem to work well and get more non-romance people as well is the yearning?
I mean, with Heated Rivalry, the way that they marketed it, they were like, it's steamy, it's steamy, it's steamy. And it's steamy, but it's no more steamy than Game of Thrones or Bridgerton or any other, you know, TV show with an MA tag on it. You know what I mean? But because it's queer, there's like this element of taboo or something. So they're pushing the steamy. And I find that a little bit disturbing, but I understand why they did it because that's the hook, right? You hook people with the spice, and then you hit them over the head with the romance and the plot and the story and the characterization and all of the amazing things. But I think that I don't know, I think that what we as readers love about romance is the journey that the characters take individually and together. And a lot of times the adaptations skip that part in favor of the meet cute, the first kiss, the whatever. And it's like they skip over the parts that we all keep turning the pages in the middle of the night for. And I think if they just listen to the readers the way that Jacob Tierney listened to Rachel's readers, they would they could not replicate the success of Heated Rival because I think that's lightning in a bottle, but like they would have better success with the properties if they treated them with respect.
Yeah. I think the ones that thrive are the ones that go with the drama. It's the
Hmm.
drama that is what makes them like super successful. And the drama is really, yes, the romance, the story, but that's a driving element of the drama of
It's the
the
tension.
story.
It's the
Bingo.
tension. Yeah, it's the tension, the will they, won't they, or how will they overcome the obstacle or whatever it is, rather than, I don't know. I think that they, like I said, they kind of water things down to their basic elements. I'm a big fan of Red, White, and Royal Blue. And when I first watched the film, I didn't understand why the film was so different from the book. I mean, I knew adaptations, there's an adaptation, but I was like, why did they cut out this and why did they remove that? And then I realized they couldn't have put all of that in a 2 hour film.
Yeah.
So what they did was they distilled the rom-com out of the book and it became like a love letter to the book. Do you know what I mean? Which is like, if you're going to do something like that, then at least keep the spirit of the book, knowing that you can't do everything, like keep
Hmm.
the spirit of the book. And that's what they did. And I could respect that. But there are some adaptations that just sort of throw the book out the window and pick some puzzle pieces from other rom-coms that they've done, slap the characters' names on it, and a couple of like highlight moments from the book, and then they call it the book, and you're like, that's not what I fell in love with.
Yeah.
So
So, okay. So it's been almost 3 years since you were here with us last, which I
wow.
think's crazy,
Yes.
to talk about the girl with stars in her eyes. And since
Yeah.
then, we know you've been busy writing, and if I counted correctly, you've released two full-length books, organized, edited, and wrote novellas for three Love Is All anthologies, including Volume 9. which is what we read this month. So a lot's been happening, to say the least.
Yeah.
Something our group has been very curious about is the process that goes into organizing, editing, and anthology. And so, thank you so much for agreeing to come and talk to us specifically about that tonight, because that's really what we were really fascinated with and wanted to kind of really sit with you about, because we're like, how does that work? um, so, I guess we're going to start with the obvious. How did Love Is All originally come about, and what made you want to get involved and organize and kind of put together a charity anthology in the first place?
Sure. I mean, I've been involved in a few anthologies. I think I had done one or two before I decided to do Love Is All, and they were not charity anthologies. They were just the first one was a hockey anthology, and it was 18 authors, and we were all writing in a shared universe. It was like a massive tome. I have a friend who read that anthology when it came out. I think it was 2017, and she has not been able to read a hockey romance since because she read our 18 and she was like, I can't. She can't read anymore. And then I did another one that was sort of surrounded music. It was called Mixtape, and that one was a lot of fun. But for this, I was like, I don't know what prompted me to do. Sometimes I get ideas and I just act on them. And I was like, I want to raise money for the Trevor Project. I think I'll put together an anthology. I wonder if any of my author friends would be in this. And like 8 people said yes. And so I asked them to turn their stories in, and I created a cover, and I, did the whole formatting thing, and then we had an anthology. So I kind of jump into things sometimes, but we raised a little bit of money, and I was like, oh, I'll do it again next year if I have time. And it just became a yearly thing. So here we are at volume 9. Next year's volume 10. That's going to be the final edition, actually. But it's been a learning experience. It's been really amazing to work with so many incredible authors. R.L. Melrose was in the room, and Rose, one of the authors, has been with me for a while. Hi, Ro. And yeah, people have been so generous with their time and with their stories. And it's been really incredible to raise. I think we've raised a little over $10,000, which is not a lot of money in the course of, compared to like other major anthologies that have come out. But considering I don't do a lot, we put the stories together, we put it out, we tell people about it, and they buy it. We don't like have like advertising and all that kind of stuff. So I just sort of raise a little money and do something to give back to the community a little bit. Um, yeah, so it's just, labor of love kind of thing.
So how do you get other authors involved? Like, what's the process of who do you ask?
Begging and
And
pleading. No.
okay,
No, I've been writing now for, I think I've been publishing for, it'll be 12 years this December. And I spent a year before that just networking and meeting other people, meeting other authors and going to events and stuff. So, I mean, I know so many people, and the romance community in particular is so generous. Um, there's so many causes that are supported by romance. We raised, I did the Nightingale anthology for Ukraine, and I think we raised like 200 or $300,000, something crazy like that. Like it's amazing what the community can do when it comes together. So saying, hey guys, I'm putting together an anthology. If you have a short story or a novella that you want to write that doesn't fit in something that you've been dying to write that idea, or it's an intro to your series or whatever it is, I give them the freedom to choose what they want to write, because I want to bring readers to whatever it is that they want them to come to. So, and it's an opportunity for us to sort of hang out together and work together for a little while. So yeah, I mean, I haven't had anyone say, oh my God, stay away from me, never ask me again, which is nice. Most people say yes, or they say, I can't right now, maybe next year kind of thing. But no, everybody's been really cool and generous. So.
So, having done it 9 years so far, is it easier or harder to recruit authors at this point now?
It was easier. And then this last 2 years, it's gotten harder. And I think because a lot of authors are in a similar situation where the world is on fire, and we came out of the pandemic trying to like scramble to get back to some sort of normalcy. And I know a lot of authors, myself included, whose wells ran dry. So it's like I can barely get my own books done. I don't have the spoons to write another story. So it's been like that for a couple of years now, which is one of the reasons why I've decided to end it after next year's edition because I hate chasing people and making them feel bad. You know what I mean? Like I hate people like feel like they're letting me down. I'm like, you're not, you're totally not. But I get it. But also I think that anthologies when we first started doing them, they weren't a huge thing in romance, and now they're everywhere all the time. So it's harder to get people to buy them, you know?
Mhm.
So I think I can focus my efforts on some other venue to raise money another way. But it's been an amazing run, so I'm not complaining at all.
So getting back to the anthology, do you have a set number of novellas that you aim to include each year? And do you have any type of mix of authors that you are trying to have represented in each volume? Like, for example, new or established authors.
hmm I don't have a set number of novellas. I try to do nine has been my threshold. Like if I can get nine stories, then I feel good because an anthology should be a nice mix of stories for people to read. And it depends on how many authors I end up with as we get closer to deadline. Um, I used to tell people 20K was the word count, it was 20,000 words is novella length. And then one year we had like 15 authors, and I was like, that's a big fat book. I don't know that we can have 20,000 words. So I said 10. Let's do 10. You know, it's 15 authors. That's 150,000 words. That seems like a good thing. So the length has varied, although when I do put them on the shelf, they are kind of all the same width, that's not by design. That just happens that way. But I try to do something. I don't want people burning out like the way my friend did on that hockey anthology. So I'm like, let's give them nice, quick, short, you know, HEAs, HFNs, whatever that they can get into. Take it to the beach, read a story, read a story on your way home from work or whatever. So I tried to just keep it, big but not too girthy.
So you've touched on parts of this, so feel free to go short as you want to on this answer. But um, have you ever, during this process, given the authors like a shared prompt, a theme, a really specific set of guidelines, or has it really been full freedom to submit a novella of their choice?
It's really been full freedom to submit whatever they wanted to. I had a question about like how diverse within the genre that I wanted to be. And I always encourage people to write what their heart is telling them to write. Because I had people who were afraid to write FF or afraid to write MMF or whatever. I'm like, if that's what you want to write, write that. The only criteria I have is that it's a queer romance. We've had vampires, we've had scientists, we've had, athletes, everything. I've written painters, like anything you want. That's the only criteria that I have, that it ends with an emotionally satisfying ending and that it centers a queer romance, whatever configuration that is. So,
Since it's an ongoing annual anthology, does that allow you to work on more than one volume at a time? Or does the project scope make it where you only have the capacity to focus on a single volume at a time?
oh, definitely only a single volume at a time. This is an unusual situation because I know that next year is the last one, so I usually design the covers myself, but I kind of want to go out with a bang. So I've already commissioned an artist to design the cover, and I've already reached out to my first celebrity. Well, I can't put that in quotes. He's a celebrity. Once I get the go ahead, I can announce that, but he's going to be doing the foreword for the anthology, which is another thing that I usually do myself. I've had people come in and do them. I think for the fifth, I did, someone came in and did one, and I had another person that did a foreword, but it's usually me. So this is like, I'm trying to go out one, raising as much money as we possibly can with this last one, but I wanted to just sort of go out with on a high note. So yeah.
So you're not just the organizer, you're also editing. So what does editing look like for a project like this?
Right. So my authors are really wonderful and they send me clean, lovely copies of their stories, but I still go through them. There's still like typos and things that they don't catch, which is I try to catch it on. And then for me, editing is the flow of the anthology, figuring out the order of the stories to put them in. Um, it's I'm a musician. I've used to be a DJ, you know what I mean? So like I create playlists a lot. And for me, the cadence of an anthology is important. And that may not make any sense to anyone but me, but it's like hitting with a track that I know is gonna pop open eyes, and then going to the next one that's maybe on a different vein, and then zigzagging over to this story because it has this feel. So that's for me what the editing part is, and I have fun with it. I move them around in my software, envelop them like, okay, wait, maybe this story should go here first because it ends like this, and then this one comes, So that's what I'm doing.
So to piggyback off of that, how do you balance protecting each author's individual style with making editorial suggestions?
I don't do anything that touches their voice. If I have a question, if I come across something, I'm like, hey, I just read this and this to me, and they'll go, oh my God, I'm missing a paragraph, or oh my gosh, that was supposed to have an epilogue, or whatever it is. Like if feel like an off note, then I will reach out. But I tried, it's, totally autonomous for these authors. The stories that they send me is how they go out, minus any sort of like minor, grammatical corrections or things like that.
So, what's been easier then? Editing your own work or doing the editing for others?
Oh, other people for sure. Yeah, because if I'm horrible with editing my own stuff, because it's never done. I'm never happy with it, you know. I've read books that I wrote. I'll come across a passage that I wrote like 5 years ago. Oh man, I wonder if anybody would notice if I took that sentence out and did this and then, yeah, I would never be done. So,
So after 9 years of writing and editing novellas, what do you think are the key things that make successful novella? Because I feel like that they're very hard because it has to be the right amount. It can't be too long, too short, and get you into the story, but not leave you wanting too much.
yeah, novella is like it's not quite an appetizer. I think of more of it like a lunch main, like you're having a nice lunch on a Saturday. So you get this feeling of like complete story, complete characterization. But you turn the last page feeling satisfied. You might want more, but if you want more, you can go find that author's other work. You know what I mean? But it's like I'm satisfied. I liked how this made me feel, or this made me feel whatever, however, if it's sad or happy or whatever, it made me feel something. And I don't feel like the story was incomplete. It's really hard to write 20,000 words of a complete arc of a couple. And a lot of authors, when they do novellas, will tie them into other series. They'll use characters that people already know, which I think is a great way to pull people into your other series. I'm not that smart. So I tend to write stuff that I just wanted to write. Like, oh, I wanted to write a story about a lawyer and an artist. I guess I'll do that. It has nothing to do with anything else that I've ever done and never will. But it's just, it's a chance to like get that scratch that itch that plot bunny that's been hopping around in your brain for a while, or you can, expand on a universe that you already have. It's cool.
So this year's anthology's designated charity was PFLAG,
Hmm.
um, but you've supported various organizations in the past as well. Can you
Yeah.
talk about the process of selecting the charities for the anthology to support and why you think it's important to support multiple versus focusing on a singular?
The times I usually do focus on a singular. There were a couple of years where it felt like there were communities that were, I mean, it didn't feel like it. Communities were under attack, like directly under attack. And we usually pick our charity. And then I think that year I picked it and I was like, wait a minute, what's happening over here? And it was like, oh my gosh, well, what do we do now? So, and rather than just like pivot, it's like, okay, we'll just divvy the money up between these charities because and then last year, I think was Lambda Legal was our beneficiary, and I chose them because they were fighting on all fronts. So rather than like try to divvy, you know, $2,000 up between three people, three organizations, it's like let's just give them the money. They know where to put it. They know how best to use it in the fights that they're fighting. So PFLAG, same thing. It was like they're sort of on all fronts. So yeah.
So after having 9 volumes of Love Is All, how have you found it to be the most successful way to promote the anthology?
I rely heavily on my authors for that, because again, we don't have, it's not a buy-in project. Like we don't have a pool of money where we can do advertising and stuff like that. So authors will often come to me, like Ro, R.L. Merrill, who's in the chat. I'm gonna get you to talk. Will offer like, oh, I have a newsletter that wants me to, just give me a slot, to promote my stuff. I'm gonna use it to promote the anthology. Or hey, I am really great with graphics. Let me create a graphic for you and I'll put it in my whatever. Or I'm part of this group over here and they do author spotlights on Thursdays. Do you want to come and we can all go in there and talk about our stories? So it's really like a guerrilla marketing tactic that we use, lots of word of mouth. And I think because you tend to have 10 to 15 authors involved, you're talking about a pretty widespread readership. So, and with the rise of like book talk and threads and things like that, it's really about word of mouth.
So, where are you at on your thoughts about extending Mal and Pel's story from Toothpaste Kissing to a full-length story, or just even writing another novella about them? And if you ever did
Yeah.
revisit them, would you share more of the backstory of Mal's breakup with Joshua? Because, they're friends.
Oh, Joshua. Yeah, I wouldn't mind revisiting Mal and Pell. And Mal, they're both really interesting characters to me. I'm not quite sure where they came from. And initially, it was a fringe art. Pell was a fringe artist, and Mal was a tailor, like a theater tailor. And I don't know where that came from either. Like I'm a very what if person. I will see somebody will say something in passing and my brain will go, what if those were characters? What was that? What if that was a story? And somebody must have said something about a tailor at some point. And so my brain went that way. And by the time I got back to the plot bunny, I was like, what is this? And then it was a painter and an attorney. So yeah. But I do really like the character archetypes that they are. So I would not mind revisiting them. Maybe for next year's anthology. Who knows? I don't have an idea for that yet, so I could totally do that. Like somebody said plot bunny is a new term for them. Yeah. I think it came from fanfic years ago, which is how I started. So
Okay, so this is where I'm going to open up the mic and please just take your turns and don't talk off each other over each other. But opportunity to ask questions to Zio directly here, guys. All right, Jess.
Was there any particular story that surprised you during the editing process or delighted you?
oh God, I mean that's
You
like
can't
picking
say what
my
their
favorite
favorite is. I'm not
baby.
asking for that, but just maybe something that was like, oh, a surprise.
I mean, there are people in here that I love dearly. There's only a couple of people in here that I'd never worked with before, that I've known them for a while. And so reading like Regina Kyle, like I've known Regina for a while, and Mary Farmer, and it was like, I wonder what they're gonna come to me with. But since she's here, Ro, I'm always excited to get Ro's story because Ro has such a great imagination. You should talk about your story while you're. Can I bring her on? Can we
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
to Ro? Yeah, Ro's story is amazing. Amazing author. If you haven't read her, R.L. Merrill, just incredible. So talk to him about your story and tell him why I love it so much.
God, thank you, Zio. I loved what you said earlier about like this anthology every year is an opportunity to write something that you've been wanting to write, but maybe doesn't have a place in the rest of your work.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite stories I've written have come from stories that I've submitted to this anthology. So like I want more. My musicians at at their studio trapped together and have to work together and they're like enemies. And so I over the years, like some of those have been some of my favorites to do. But this year, I had this, wild hair while, being angry at the world around us and, everything being on fire. I had this kind of bizarre, what I called it, I guess, a polyamorous political thriller. I
Yeah.
guess, with
Yeah.
like a sort of an alternate reality where we've had a civil war and there's a tentative kind of situation where the Louisiana territory has seceded from the Union, but there are still people who want to be a part of the Union, and like the whole United States is a mess. And these three people are stuck in a hotel room together during a lockdown and kind of admit their feelings for each other while they're also trying to politically strategize how they can kind of take back power. So it was, you know, one of
It was
those,
so
wouldn't it
different.
be
I was like, oh my
nice?
God. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be
So
nice
you
if,
get,
because people do. I think part of it was I was kind of inspired by, if anyone's watched The Diplomat with
mm,
Kerry Washington and yeah, and there was a period in the first season where you kind of got this, might there possibly be a throuple that
Yes.
might happen? And
mm.
I think maybe that was kind of in my head a little bit, which, there wasn't. Sorry, spoiler, but yeah, so I enjoyed being able to kind of explore that because it's something different that I wouldn't normally write. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd never written a male, male, female throuple before. I've done a couple of female, female, male. So it just was, yeah, a
Yeah.
total what if.
Yeah. And it's really cool to see when people come back with something that's so different from what they normally write. And then their readers go, what? I didn't know you had that in you. You know what I mean? So it's really cool. Yeah.
I am
Um,
a notorious skipper arounder of anthologies, and I started with yours, Ro, to be honest. I was like, let's see what Ro has thrown in here. And I was like, wait, hold up. What is going on in here? And I was like,
You're
wait,
like
we're
closing
doing
it.
a
Maybe I don't want to start
dystopian
there.
present tense. I was
Wait, where
like,
did I
it's
put
like
it? I'm trying to remember
present
where I put it
time
in the order.
dystopia. Okay,
This
Ro.
was like,
Well, I'm getting a
yeah.
little bit afraid to write sort of dystopian stuff because um, in the fall of 2016, this is just a quick aside. If you know the author Rebecca Hunter,
Hmm.
she does she used to teach wonderful classes. I'm always begging her to do it again. But she taught this great class about how to use critical analysis of bestsellers to kind of create your own kind of template for a romance novel. And I ended up writing the story for her class, the start of a story that was a um, what if the president who won in 2016 that we all, yeah, that we have feelings about. What if he did win and it's 50 years in the future and everything that we're afraid of has actually come to pass? And so I wrote this sort of dystopian story, and Rebecca's like, this is so great. You should keep writing this. And then the election happened, and I was like, I shouldn't do this again. Like,
Yeah.
no, that was bad manifesting on my part.
Eesh. Wow.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jess.
I have one more. I was curious about Pell's paintings and
Mhm.
if there's a specific artist that you had in mind when you were envisioning the type of artwork that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, not a specific artist, or at least I don't know their name. I used to live in a section of Philadelphia called Old City, and the first Friday of every month, they had First Fridays where um, there's a I don't know 2 or 3 block area where there's nothing but not nothing, but there's like a ton of art galleries. And first Friday, they would open the doors and put out wine and cheese, and you just basically went from gallery to gallery, and it would tie up traffic. It was so crazy, but it was really, really cool. And I used to go, and you would see these like student artists or people who painted in their spare time, or like, visiting artists or whatever. You just see so many different kinds of art and expression. And occasionally there would be an artist who was like a janitor at a department store but their art was like incredible, and somebody would just walk in and buy all of their pieces. Like it happened a couple times, and it's this person like crying in the corner because somebody just bought all of their art. And like, there's one guy who had a studio down there like above a parking garage, and he was painting for years, just for fun. And then someone was like, "Hey, I'm opening a gallery. You should put one of your works up." And so he did. And they gave him a show, like part of the show on a first Friday. And this big gallery owner came in and was like, "This is incredible. Where have you been? You're local?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just do it." And she was like, "I'm going to give you a show." She gave him a show at one of the main galleries here. It's like it launched his career. And now he's like a muralist and all this kind of stuff. So like I would see pieces that I couldn't even afford, even though they, at the time, because I was like, I know that they're unknown artists, but I still can't afford this. But I'm gonna take a quick picture of it and just have it like a background on my phone. But yeah, I ran into that kind of stuff all the time. And so for me, that's the artist that Pell was. He was just sort of like this guy, knew he had something, but couldn't really go anywhere with it, and just kind of plugging away at it. And then this piece that he did, like, enraptures, Well, so that was the impetus for it.
Okay. All right. So I want to switch gears just a little bit to music, specifically the Spotify playlists that you put together for the anthology. You
Yeah.
create these for most of your writing projects. How did this one get put together? Were these inspo songs for authors, or was this the playlist you jammed to while you were editing?
I usually ask the authors what they were listening to, um, when they were working, or if there's a song that goes with the story or whatever. And I did that last year, and I couldn't get the playlist to, again, that flow. I couldn't get it to do what I wanted it to do. So it kind of just was what it was. And this year I was like, I hope they don't mind. I'm gonna do it myself. And so it's a mixture of songs that I felt spoke to the moment that we're living in, songs that I felt some of the characters that I was reading would listen to, or would speak to them, songs that I thought of from artists who, like queer artists who just don't get a lot of play. And I thought I'm going to stick them in here because they deserve more attention, and then I just kind of, again, bringing in my DJ background and my music, my obsession with music, try to make it something that it opens with a banger and closes with a, a lower tempo banger, so it kind of takes you through a journey and through different genres, because I wanted to, represent almost everyone. So
So, it's you are one of the sponsoring authors again this year for Indies Invade Philly.
mhm.
You've been going to this con for many years. What makes you excited about it, and what indie authors do you have on your recommendation list?
Ooh, who's coming? um I love Indies Invade Philly because it's 10 minutes from my house. No, okay. It is 10 minutes from my house, but I love it because it brings together what I love most about Romance Landia, which is readers who just love experiencing or discovering new authors. Like you'll have your heavy hitters there, and people get their bracelets and they get in line to see their unicorns or whatever. But then after they get that moment with their unicorn author, they walk the room and they ask you about your books, and they buy, a book if something speaks to them, or they, I'm gonna get it on KU or whatever it is. They're engaging with you. I've done signings where people don't even stop at every table, which I don't understand. If you're at a signing for like 4 hours and you're just walking the room, why wouldn't you just take a look and say hello, or ask or whatever. But but I get it. Some people are shy, or they don't want to feel like, obligated to buy or pressured to buy, and I totally get that. But I feel like Indies is one of those rooms, that everyone is just, it's almost like a book party. You know what I mean? Like I usually have music at my table and people come by and they're jamming, and I'll have like candy. Or at Indies, I try to really lean heavily into my Philly roots. So I'll have Philly soft pretzels or tasty cakes, which is a local pastry thing, or something that's like really Philly tied, because we have a lot of people coming in from out of the city. And so I want them to feel like they're experiencing a little bit of the city, even though they're only there for in this convention hall for the day, you know. But yeah, it's just a really feel good event. I think Jennifer and Holly do an amazing job of making the readers feel welcome, making the authors feel welcome. They treat their volunteers really well. Like it's just a really good vibe. And in terms of like indie authors, I'm always suggesting people to them because they don't know like every indie author that's out there. And so when I come across someone or someone I think that would be a really good fit, I'm like, hey, you should ask so and so. Hey, have you heard of this? Have you read this? You know, and then they go, okay, I'm going to check that out. So this, I think I don't want to like spoil who they've invited for next year, but I know a couple of people that are coming next year as first timers that are going to be so popular. I can't wait. Like the readers are going to be like, what? You know, like one of them contacted me and she was like, hey, because she's not in the country. And she was like, hey, I don't know this event. Is this real? And I was like, yes, totally come. So she's coming and I'm really excited. So yeah, it's going to be good.
So, do you have a book on your TBR currently that you're super excited to read that you want other people to know about and read too, so that you have people to talk to about with it about it?
Oh, my TBR. Um, Gosh. I'm trying to think. I just got a copy of, and I'm mad because it got damaged in the mail. If you can see
Oh,
that there.
Oh,
But this is To Catch a Sinner from Lucy Wilson Tego. People know Lucy as Dylan Allen.
mm-hmm.
This is her first book under this name. And this book, I started. She sent me an arc, and I got like 25% of it, and then I was on the road and couldn't finish it. So I'm gonna finish it probably in the next couple of days. Oh my gosh! I mean, look at that cover.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's just, yeah. So.
Gonna interject, gonna give you guys a heads up. We're reading that in August,
yeah.
and she's gonna be here
Ah,
in August.
Mhm.
see,
So
I'm
that's
with the
our next book.
times.
That's our next book, everyone. So I was like,
Yes.
we did not
Romantic
tell
suspense.
Dio to say that, by the way. That
It
was a
literally just
surprise. I was
came.
like,
Literally
wait.
just came. Yeah, no, there's so much there are so many books that I'm anticipating that haven't even been like obviously I want Unrivaled when that comes, like as soon as that is anywhere, I'm gonna buy it. Um, I'm really, really looking forward to, I don't know if you've read When the Tides Held the Moon from Vanessa Vita Kelly. I know that they're
Mhm.
working on the next book. And I'm like, when? You know, I'll proofread, like whatever you want me to do. Can I have that? You know? Yeah, so there are authors like Roe and people who I'm just like, what's coming down the pike? Like, give me something, let me know what's happening so I can prepare myself. So Vanessa was here in May. Oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
Vanessa's awesome. Yeah. I just did an event with Tia Williams, and her new book is unreal. What is the? I can't even think of the name of it right now, but it's so good.
Misconnection.
Misconnection. Yes, Misconnection. So good. So good. So yeah, I'm lucky. I get stuff early, and then I have to wait 6 months to talk about it.
So I think I know the answer to this, but a movie or a show that you have in your queue to watch this summer.
I mean, I'm obsessed. Have always been since I was 13 with The Vampire Lestat. Um, I am in love with what they've done. Talk about an adaptation that's true to the spirit of the source material, but while making major changes. It's one of the best TV adaptations I've ever seen. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the sequel to Red, White, and Royal Blue. The Red, White, and Royal Wedding, I think it's called. Um, what else? I'm sure there's other stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm also a sci-fi person, so like the new season of Silo comes out soon. I'm really looking forward to Heartstopper Forever, even though I'm sad to see it go. Uh, so yeah, there's a few things that I will be watching.
All right. You knew I was going to have to ask this question. Is there a chance we could see a new Lily's book in 2027?
Probably not till 2028,
Okay.
just because of the way that the schedule works.
Right.
It's taking me a way longer to write Tiff's book than I anticipated because her story is very, very heavy, and I'm trying to stay true to her character while also maintaining a Lily's book because I'm like, I can't dive this deep into this. I mean, I try to like massage. I can't. My characters tell me what to write, and I write it. But I've been trying to like massage it a little bit to make it not as quite as heavy, and I'm getting there. But it's like, my goodness, girl, could you have like given me a clue a couple of books ago? So partially that's on me, but also like just the nature of the way that my publisher works. It takes a long time to get things into the pipeline. So it could be the end of 2027, but it's probably going to be close to the beginning of 2028.
Fair,
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah. Yeah. But we'll see if I can like squeeze. I've had people ask me to write, and it wouldn't be a romance, obviously, but it had asked me to write Mo and Mary's story, Tony's parents, because they are
Oh,
curious
yeah.
about what went down with that and how Minx came to be. And I've had people ask me about Jordan, like a little side escapade with Jordan and his harem. So we'll see if they let me do something like that in the meantime while we're waiting.
So, what do you have in the fryer that you want your fans to know about and to be getting excited about?
So I am working on two manuscripts right now. One is the follow-up to Love on the Byline, which is Bran's book, which I think will be out January or February of next year if all things go well. The other thing that I'm working on is an expansion of an hockey romance that I wrote
Oh,
for the anthology several years ago, and I thought, oh, one day I'll expand this, and this seems like thought this might be a good time to do it. Why not? So that will come out probably in August or September of this year. It'll be my first indie release, like full-length indie release in a while. And it's called The Beautician. And I'm excited for that. So,
I
That's
feel like
very
you should write another book about a Scot
hmm.
with Callum. I think you should write another book
Oh,
like the Scot.
another Scott. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
maybe. Yeah. The Callum that was an instance where as a newbie author, I let readers get in my head because that was a standalone book, and then people were like, we want more, and so I was like, okay, it's a series. And then I got a lot of emails and DMs and carrier pigeons telling me what to write. So it got to the point where I couldn't write anything else in that, so I just put it aside until the 10th anniversary, and then I wrote that short for the 10th anniversary. But it was like, I can't write that because you told me to write it, and I can't write that because you suggested it. So it was like it got really crazy. So I just let it go. Yeah. But one day another Scott I mean, Frankie's a Scott, right? So yeah.
those are good things to get excited about.
Yeah. I am really excited about the Beautician because I've been wanting to revisit those guys for a while and just haven't had the opportunity to do it. So this seems like an opportune time.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again, and I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Um, Thank you for chatting. Thank you for walking away from World Cup for a little while, sitting with us to share about the experience of organizing and editing an annual anthology. It's always wonderful spending an evening with you. Anyone who hasn't gotten a copy of Volume 9, Love Is All, make sure you pick up the copy before the end of the month because the end of the
Yeah,
month is when it goes away, right?
July 6th is the last day.
Okay.
And it's actually going to be it's going to be $1.99 from Wednesday, the 1st, until the end of the run, and it'll be in Kindle Unlimited as well. So they'll have a chance to either read it there, get all those page reads in, or pick it up for $1.99. Yeah, this disappears forever on July 6th. So,
Awesome. So definitely take advantage of that if you haven't already. And then we mentioned it already. Um, we're going to be reading in August To Catch a Sinner. Um,
Mhm.
Dylan/Lucy is going to be with us on the 31st of August to chat with us about the books, and mark your calendar now. And July, we're going to be taking a mini vacation. So we're not going to have a scheduled book or author, but we are going to be meeting on Monday nights to discuss our beach/vacation reads that we're enjoying. And the invites for those Monday nights are going to be up on the group page for people to use and join us to chat about those. So thanks, everyone, and go enjoy some football/soccer. And have a great one, guys. And we'll have this recording up probably tomorrow. So have a great one, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Bye,
for coming.
Rue.
Bye,
Bye, Rose.
everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.